Greetings, greetings, greetings. Good evening to everyone. This is Midwife Sakina Oyuhuru, Warrior Midwife Sakina Oyuhuru, coming to you this evening. This is our Ask the Midwife session. This is an extension of our Journey to Birth webinar series that we used to host way back during 2019, 2020. So this evening, I promised I would come back on and talk a little bit about how to prepare for a birth. Last night or the night before that, we were talking a little bit about how to interview a midwife. And so I had an interesting phone call conversation where someone was looking for a midwife, looking for a home birth midwife, and I wasn't able to offer her my services. My practice actually did not cover that area of North Carolina, which is where I'm practicing currently. And so, but she took advantage of the conversation by asking me what would I suggest, would be some of the questions she should ask other midwives that she was thinking about interviewing. So last night I was going over that, and in summary, I actually suggested that she, really sit quietly, by herself and just think about what she's aligned with, how does she see her labor birth unfolding, and what are some of the components of her life that she values most, was it, how was the midwife able to offer services in her home? Was the price really important to her? Was hiring a midwife or birth person who was like-minded in the way that she, lived, in terms of her lifestyle, in terms of her religion? So those might be some important questions to ask. And also, does the midwife value delayed cord clamping or placental encapsulation? So all of those things that you feel are important to you, and if you don't know, then maybe you need to think a little bit about how do you envision this journey unfolding? Do you want candles? Do you want, dark lights? Do you want some music playing? Do you want to have a festive event? 10 individuals in your family surrounding you in prayer, or how holding space? It's like, think about how you want your labor and birth to unfold, and that should help drive those questions. Like, can this person support you in the way that you need them to? Does she speak to your spirit? Do you feel connected through the phone or in person, if you do it in person, or through Zoom? Do you kind of feel someone's spirit through that? So, those are some important elements that I think are questions to ask, when you're trying to decide if this practice or this person is right for you. So tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about, some of the real core, I think, things that are needed in preparation for a home birth. And I know that, we're going to get into supplies. Like, some people think about home birth or out of hospital birth and they're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? It's going to be messy. How do I prepare for it? And so, those things that we take for granted, about out of hospital birth. So I was going to talk a little bit about supplies and how to prepare best for it tonight. But before we begin, I just wanted to remind you guys to subscribe to my channel. My channel is Midwife Sakina Oyuhuru 4710 on YouTube. Sorry, I'm doing like 5 things at once. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel on YouTube at Midwife Sakina Oyuhuru 4710 All right. So if you're just now joining us tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the basic supplies that are needed for a home birth. Of course, if, as we know, women have been birthing babies for centuries. This is a process that's been happening before most of us can think of, or, it's a very ancient practice. And so if you had nothing, the baby would be fine. If you birthed in the forest, in your backyard, you probably would be okay, as long as you have your warm belly and your hands to comfort and provide warmth to your baby, you would be fine. But in this day and age, people are concerned with protecting their furnishings, protecting their beddings, protecting their rug. And, most of the supplies that we bring to a home birth, we don't use. We just have them just in case we need it. My bag is huge. Next time I'll bring it so you guys can see how huge it is. And a lot of the supplies in it, we don't get to use. But the supplies that I'm talking about tonight are the supplies that we ask our clients to purchase in preparation for the home birth for their home. And so one of the things that is really important is to get either waterproof mattress. They can be very expensive, but you can, use an old shower curtain or a new one. Go to the 99-cent store and put that on your mattress, and then put your sheet on top of it. And then we also recommend that you get the cotton lined plastic, what is also known as wee chucks, we call them in the medical field. And they are plastic on one side and cotton on the other. And you can line your bedding with that. After you put the plastic down, plastic shower, or, plastic shower, and then your bedding, which is your sheet. And then you cover it with what we call chucks. So those are important to have, and they're not only important to have for the labor, but also postpartum, so that you won't soil your bed. So that's important. One of the things that I think is also important is I have my clients purchase what I call my birth kit. And so most midwives have their own, and they add in what they feel is necessary for their particular labor birth. And so in mine, I have a couple of things. It's really nominal. I think it's less than $50, maybe $40. And it's under my name of my practice, Gentle Spirit Home Birth Practice, or under my first name. I can't remember. Or I think you could find it under both, my personal name and the name of my practice. And in it are those liners. Also gloves, of course, because a lot of people, don't want to pick up something soiled. And so we recommend some gloves. And you can also get like cheap gloves from the 99-cent store. But inside my birth kit are sterile gloves, because I use them for vaginal exams when and if I do them. I don't always examine individuals for vaginal exam. It depends on, where we are in labor. Sometimes we don't need to. So gloves are important to have. I have a bulb suction. I hardly ever use, but I have it there just in case. Baby needs a little bit of removal of mucus. Sometimes there's lots of mucus, and sometimes babies can remove it on its own. Usually after about, I want to say maybe 4 to 6 breaths, usually removes all of the fluid in the lungs. So you can gently encourage them to take a breath, rubbing their back, and encourage them to take a breath. That taking the breath removes the fluid out of the sacs of the lungs. So sometimes when there's a lot of fluid or mucus and they are having a little difficulty, I use the bowl suction. I don't like to introduce it, but when necessary, I will. Um, so some of the things that we also recommend are towels, and you don't have to spend a lot of money on the towels. You can go to the 99-cent store or Family Dollar, Marshalls or Ross is okay too, and get like 10, towels that you don't mind discarding. So that's why we say don't spend too much money on it, or you use the ones that are in your home that are that you don't mind discarding. We use towels to keep baby warm. We also use the towels to, soak up things that may have spilled. Like sometimes, our clients release their water, also known as breaking the water. I mean, I don't break the water, but if it releases on its own spontaneously, sometimes it's on the floor. Sometimes there's blood on the floor. There's, feces or caca on the floor. Because as you know, in labor, we're releasing and removing and making way for babies. So sometimes, we will release feces or have a bowel movement. So that is good to have. Towels are really essential. Also, garbage bags. We usually say, buy some large black plastic garbage bags so we can discard soiled linen, towels, gloves, and then no one has to see it. So that's why I say black. So important. These are just basic, important items we encourage our clients to purchase in preparation for their home birth. So towels are good to have, garbage bags, an extra box of gloves, and all of these things can be purchased inexpensively. You may even have it in your home. You don't even have to purchase. So I'm open to questions as well. I'm not sure if, I can see them here. I'm going to post a little question. And hopefully this will encourage people to ask questions. All right, I'm back. I know that I actually traveled to an area of North Carolina that I'm not familiar with. And that's called Clayton. It's actually a nice little drive. Unfamiliar territory, but it was not bad of a drive. Sometimes it's a little challenging as a home birth midwife when you're traveling a lot. You're taking like 4 highways to get to a client. It's because there's a stress that's associated with driving, traffic, etc., etc. So we were talking about labor prep and the items that they had already purchased, things that they wanted to get extra. One of the things that I added to my list was a garbage pail. And I know that sounds strange to some folk, but a garbage pail now I'm talking about a clean one now, and a cheap one. We use the garbage pail for someone who might be vomiting. It's so easy, like you just pick up the handle, and so no one has to, get their hands all messy. Some people are squeamish with, secretions, bodily fluids. So to be mindful of that, we recommend just having a pail, of course, gloves, a box of gloves. And we also use that pail if we need to discard really soiled linen or towels, and the garbage might be a little far away. So the pail serves as, a way to get the soy linens to the garbage. We also use it for the placenta. Once the client births the placenta, if it's not a lotus birth, we put the placenta in there, and then we'll evaluate it later. So a lotus birth, some people want to not cut the cord and allow for the placenta to remain attached to the baby. So that means the umbilical cord is attached, and attached to that is the placenta. And they use herbs to dry it out. A lot of salt, natural salt, and other herbs. I'm not the specialist in this area. However, I will respect your wishes and decision to have a lotus birth. So, so then you wouldn't need a pail, of course. You need your little sachet with all the herbs to put your placenta in. And then once it's dried, they use a candle to burn the placenta. And it really dries out really, really well, like almost to the point where it's ready to crack. So those individuals don't really need that. But, so a pail, getting back to my point, we use the pail to discard, all kinds of things, meaning, things that we release from our bodily secretions. And other items we use would sound strange to most folks, but a cutting board. And we hardly ever use some of the things that I'm mentioning right now. We use a cutting board only when we need to do resuscitation. It's just a hard surface to use when and if we ever need to. So that cutting board can be purchased from a 99-cent store, again, Family Dollar. And you can use it for cooking if we never use it for that, which is 99% of the time. But we like to have it in case we need to resuscitate. We need to have a hard surface to effectively resuscitate the newborn. And I know some of this sounds technical, and a lot of it is preventive supplies. These supplies are for preventive activities and events that usually do not occur during a home birth, but you want to be prepared. That's what makes you a great midwife, birth worker. Just prepare for the unexpected. And so the probability of it occurring is low, but it's always possible. So other items we suggest, of course, water, lots of it. Coconut water, or your favorite drink for rehydration or hydration purposes. And that can be an herbal tea that's warm or chilled. We like warm after labor, but whatever you feel works for you. And we try to respect that. So a replenishment drink, like coconut water, and it can be flavored if you want, your preference. If you can get it naturally from the coconut, thumbs up. So that's really great to have. And then just nice finger foods for you, like watermelon would be great. Lemon water is great to have as well. Finger foods, so fruits that you could just throw in your mouth, orange, apple, watermelon, anything that you feel connected to in terms of food. Soup is good to have, like miso soup or any soup you like. Anything that restores, replenishes, rehydrates. Pineapples are good to have as well. They have a great amount of potassium and lots of fluid like that. Like watermelon, lots of fluid in it. So I'm getting back to supplies. So I usually send my clients a list. It's called the home birth prep list, and on it has all the supplies. And some of it has some herbs in it, on it, and homeopathic remedies as well. But getting back to the list, so we talked about garbage bags, we talked about towels, we also talked about how to protect the bedding. And I like, the waterproof mattresses. And the reason I like that, and you might think they are expensive, but it's worth it because they're not uncomfortable. Like, so if you purchase a new shower curtain, try and get the one that's soft, but sometimes water goes through it and it's loud. It's not only loud every time you move, but it's hot. So it's like plastic it may be under the sheet, but it keeps you warm. And a lot of pregnant and postpartum laboring women are hot, and postpartally they're still like that sometimes. So that might not work. So, another alternative may spend a little bit more money, but it is an investment, and you can use it after the labor. You just throw it in a washing machine. They're great investments, waterproof, and particularly they protect your mattress, because your baby is going to be on your mattress at some point. And so having that is really good. There will be accidents. Like when you're changing your baby, as you're changing, like take it off and then your baby begins to pee. So having a waterproof mattress cover is a great investment for the labor, postpartum, and as a new mother. So those items are really important. We talked about food. We talked about hydrating drinks. We talked about the birth kit, and inside of the birth kit are a lot of items in there that we use during the labor. Mostly we use postpartally, and items in there may be not even used, but we use it in the case of an emergency, or in the case to help us suture if we need to repair a laceration. I was looking for more individuals to ask questions, but again, I'm sure the next time I have a live, I'll have lots more questions, a lot more questions, sorry. So I only have about 10 more minutes, and then I will probably come back on again next Tuesday night. I'm going to try and do it every Tuesday night, where we address, I want to say, issues, concerns, and questions around birth, around midwifery, around labor, and, questions that come up around fear in preparation for births. This is really for people who are considering a home birth and don't know how to start or where to begin. So I'm just going over a couple of areas that I feel will help individuals out in terms of interviewing midwives, which I did, I believe, yesterday. And today I was just focusing on a couple of items that are essential to a home birth. Now, I also started out by saying babies are born and birthed everywhere in the world. Outside, inside, in the bathroom, in the living room, in the basement, in the forest, in the backyard, in the teepee, in a tent. So I'm saying that to say babies are born with or without any of the items that I'm talking about, as long as there's a warm-bodied mom, as long as she has her hands to hold her baby and keep her baby warm and close to her belly. It's really pretty much all the baby needs. But if you want to add and protect your bedding and just add to making things easier for you in terms of just caring for baby and caring for yourself. And so those items I mentioned, there are many, many more items. I'm not going to get into every single item, but basically we talked about how to protect your bedding. We talked about gloves. We talked about the reason for towels. And towels are also used to drape over the baby to keep baby warm. Sometimes what we do is we put the towels in the dryer right before baby is going to be born. And when we sense that birth is imminent, we throw them in the towels. So throw them in the towel. I meant throw the towels in the dryer to get them warm, So heat's really important. We want baby to maintain a certain level of heat. We don't want babies to get cold, because that will spiral into something else. So that's something you can do. I know some individuals on here or who will hear this are thinking about unassisted birth. So that's a tip for those who are not considering midwives and are trying to have their babies on their own. And I'm not sitting in judgment here. I'm just giving you some advice. You can have warm towels there. That might help, especially if it's really cold outside and or your apartment doesn't get really warm. So you might want to just have that available, because sometimes babies come out really wet. And so what we suggest is make sure baby goes right immediately on your belly if you want. Because some women are not ready for their babies. I just was at a birth like that. So you allow the woman to come back inside her body. That's called the pause. And you wait until she's ready. So sometimes it's not like, oh God, deliver the baby or assist with delivery of the baby, help mom birth the baby and put the baby on the belly. That's only if the mother wants the baby to be placed directly on her belly. So you have to really just ask permission. So having said that, sometimes baby comes out, lots of blood, some vernix, maybe, meconium. So it might be good to not only have baby against mom's warm belly if she gives you permission, but throw a nice warm towel on top of that or a warm hat. And that's how we keep the baby warm. So again, this is Warrior Midwife Sakina Oyuhuru. I am here live talking a little bit about some essential supplies in preparation for a home birth. There are many more supplies than what I just talked about tonight, but I just touched upon a few. And I just want to remind everyone to subscribe to my channel, Midwife Sakina Oyuhuru at 4710. That is Midwife Sakina Oyuhuru at 4710. So I'm going to come back on probably every Tuesday night. It is Tuesday? No, today's Wednesday. Wednesday evenings. And we'll talk about different subjects pertaining to the journey to birth. And that could mean the journey to birthing a baby or the journey to birthing a new venture, a new job prospect, birthing a new you. We're also going to try and talk about issues around midwifery, how to become a midwife, how it is being a midwife student. I'm going to have other individuals on the next time I come on. I probably will have a couple of students on. I'm going to interview some fathers, new fathers, and a couple of birth workers, people who are doing some great work in the reproductive justice community. So I hope you continue to follow me, and there's going to be some great things happening. This is part of our Journey to Birth series. Is also a part of our Sit on the Couch with Midwife Sakina Oyuhuru podcast. So we're going to have some great guests on, and I hope that you guys continue to show up, tune in, listen to our lives, ask questions, get involved, and hopefully next time we'll have a more interactive live. So great. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. This was fun. I hope some people got something out of it. Gonna go over more items that we bring to the birth, and next time maybe we'll have our bag present and we can just have it up, on the screen, and you guys can see. It's a huge bag we bring. Actually, we bring several bags, but we have a main bag that has so many supplies. The list that I was referring to is called the home birth checklist. For me, I send it out to my clients. It has so many items on there, most of which the items you have in your home. Again, it consists of towels, sheets, chucks, but we went over a couple of things that are essential. And I'll go through some more items the next time we're on again. All right. You guys have a nice evening. I am signing off. Again, Midwife Sakina Oyuguru. You guys sleep well. Rest up. Good night.